Hello. Today we're going to talk about fear. In a previous recording, I discussed the topics. One was what's holding you back. Then in my second recording, I discussed the topic of sabotage. Now, those are two very different topics, at least on the surface. But if we take a closer look at them, that way, the truth is they are intertwined, and so as a result, they work in coordination, and they give us fear. So if we allow it, it will prevent us from achieving the life that we want. And all because of one thing, which is fear. So, as I mentioned, today's topic is fear, so let's get to it. As human beings, we operate out of two emotions on everything that we do. We either operate out of fear or we operate out of love. Now, love is, of course, very easy to recognize based on what we're feeling. And so it's pretty simple for us to figure out when we're feeling love because it feels good to us. Fear, however, is often disguised as anger or blaming or hatred or avoidance. It comes up as doubt, as abuse, as mistrust, and a host of other emotions. Now, those emotions dictate what we feel. They also dictate what we believe and how we think. Now, the things that we fear also determines how we go after life. It affects the way we see ourselves and the way we see other people, and it also is responsible for the limiting beliefs we have about ourselves. Those are the negative thoughts that we have running through our minds. Those thoughts are the things that tell us that we're not worthy or smart enough or pretty enough, or that we're not liked, or that we can't achieve the things that we want to achieve. So this is really the fear that I will be focusing on mostly for today's recording. Now, if we, as babies, and even when we have children or as children, we are born in positive circumstances. We're born as perfect little adorable bundles of joy. We have people all around us that are constantly oohing and eyeing and smiling at us. We pick up those nonverbal cues, and so it sets a stage for us to have some peace and some joy, and we feel the love. As babies, we love ourselves. You'll never hear a baby saying, "Am I too fat?" No, babies love themselves. They'll put their toes in their mouths. They'll eat their poop if you let them. They are just born as perfection and in love. However, as time goes by and the outside influences come up, and as we observe whether told or untold messages of life, or we observe stresses from family members or others, or other things in life that are hardships or just not pleasant start coming to bear, the messages of love start to change. So sometimes we compare ourselves to others. We see others as being better than we are. We start believing that we can never be as good. We start feeling that people are looking down at us. Our parents don't love us as much. We have dreams and desires, but as time goes on, we start doubting our ability to achieve those dreams. And really, we start diminishing our desires, which means we start believing that the dreams that we have for ourselves are no longer possible, and we're not even good enough to achieve them. But it never just stops there. Because it's not enough that we doubt ourselves. We start looking outwardly at those around us for proof, and we feel certain that they know that we're not good enough. So we stay at the low level of our belief, and what we think is the belief of others. Then comes the blaming, and that's again based on our perception. Our perception is that people are judging us and looking at us negatively. So then we start blaming. We find someone to blame for all of that. We get angry and at either the other person or our parents or our friends or our teachers or people we work with. We get mad at the world, we blame them, and we blame ourselves. The bottom line is, what's really happening is we're hurting inside and we want more, but we feel stuck. And because we feel stuck, we create our own prison. They're unseen walls that we put ourselves in, and we stay there and start looking outwardly. Now, we start feeling guilt and shame. And what happens is we end up suffering this alone in our heads. And it keeps us even more stuck. We keep it all inside. Now, some of us, become very good at putting on a face for the world to see. And so you might find that people will say to you that, oh, you're doing so well, or you're always so positive, or you're always so happy, but it's all a facade. It's a face that you put on that's really hiding what's going on. And you'll find that there are other people that will sink into a sort of depression or even denial. Now, all this is fear. All of those examples are tied into one 4-letter word, which is fear. Now, I'm not referring to the fear that protects us from danger. That's the fight or flight. I am referring to the fear that is really holding us back from being all that we want to be. This can be fear of rejection, fear of failure. The thing with failure is we all have different definitions of what that means. A failure to one person might be a learning experience to another. Now, while many of us are afraid of failing, at least some of the times, a deeper limiting fear is when we allow that fear to stop us from doing things that move us forward to achieve our goals. For example, you might find you're reluctant to do new things or get introduced to challenging projects. You'll find that you'll shy away from those. Then comes the self-sabotage, which is procrastination, excessive anxiety, or a failure to follow through. Now, low self-esteem or self-confidence really equals staying in a situation that you know isn't good for you, but you believe you have no other option. So whether that be a relationship maybe, or a job, or any situation that requires that you take some action, if you feel that you have no options, it's because you've allowed your low self-esteem or low self-confidence to take hold. You're afraid to take on possibly higher education because you feel you aren't smart enough. You're afraid to apply for that job or that promotion you want because you feel you aren't good enough. That ends part 1.